everybody, welcome to the first of 3 videos coming out this week on the Drive-Thru Games YouTube channel. We're going to be doing 3 terrain features this week, and the first one that you're watching now is going to be for Blackstone Fortress. I don't have any box covers or product images or anything like that because it can be gotten online in 2 different ways, and I'll have links to these in the video description. First off, you can get it from Tabletop Terrain, and this is what I'm going to be showing you. Or if you have a 3D printer, you can also go to Dragon's Rest, and I'll have a link to their site as well. And Dragon's Rest is the designer and creator of the terrain, and then also it's being printed at Tabletop Terrain. You can find it some other places as well, but I got mine through Tabletop Terrain. And so if you've followed my channel at all, you know that I did actually do a review of this about a year or so ago. I've acquired more terrain for some of the expansions and things, and they've been kind of keeping up with the game as they release expansions. And if you've been keeping up at all with Blackstone Fortress, you know that the last expansion has just been hitting stores now. Now they don't have terrain for that just yet because it just came out and they're going to be catching up on that. But I wanted to kind of show you the terrain in various different stages. I painted them in some different ways, some with contrast paints, some more traditional. And I just wanted to kind of give you a showcase of what they have and what you can get to bling out at least one of my favorite games of all time, Blackstone Fortress. So let's jump into this. Again, I'll have links and stuff in the description to the playlist that contains all of the videos from this week, as well as some other hobby vlogs and things like that that I've done in the past. So there's a lot to cover in this video, and I thought I would start off by doing a very quick kind of recap of some of the stuff that I actually already covered in another video, which I'll put a link to in the description below. But I just want to do a quick recap of all the stuff that they released for the original base game, the original box set for Blackstone Fortress. So if you're not familiar with what this is, what this terrain does is it makes these little 2-dimensional lines and abstractions on the game board and brings them to life in 3 dimensions. And so, like, for example, this white line here that I just showed you, that's a space that characters can move through, but once they're inside that area, then they get to cover. And then here is a spot where the characters will come into the game or each into the level, and you've got these various different doorways and things like that that they put here. So I'm just going to kind of do a quick pan across the board. These are ones that I've painted myself, and like some of the spots here, for example, you can see there's like a little faint red line there. That's impassable terrain, so it's a very tall piece that the characters cannot make it through or see through whatsoever. And so they have represented all of the features in the game thus far, except for the latest expansion, of course. And I just want to kind of give you a quick little look here. So you can see this is sort of a boneyard here, so they made kind of a bone terrain there. And they have basically represented everything in the game. And this terrain, obviously, you see, is sized and compatible with the original board art. So if we zoom up over here, we can see the Amble, which is from the first expansion, and he's being surrounded by some Urgles. And what's one other thing I wanted to show you here is they've even covered some of these individual pieces, which, you know, you'll get the design for the map when you play through the game, and then sometimes they'll have you add these extra features here. So again, this is another impassable terrain, which actually acts as a laser. So now you've got that in the game. Now, before I jump to the expansions, speaking of the Amble, I want to just talk about one other kind of really cool aspect of terrain that they have. So one other thing that they've done, and let me just move some of the pieces here, is you can actually get boards that are effectively the same boards, but they're blown up a little bit bigger. They're sized up a little bit more, so you can actually squeeze the figures in a little bit easier. And it's a full-on 3D board that stands off the ground that you can go in and paint. So they've re-represented all the boards. So you have kind of 2 options with the terrain. You could just get a 3D complete replacement for everything in the game. If you don't feel like doing that, because that's a lot of boards to paint. And also, again, remember, these are double-sided, so you're going to get basically kind of 2 boards for each one. So that's a lot of terrain and storage. But if you really want to go, you know, blinged out like that, then you can. But they give you this option, which I'm showing you here, is to just kind of enhance the already, and I already really like the artwork on the boards here in this game. So you can kind of enhance that, and it really adds a lot of fun to the game. But they have kind of a middle ground option as well, where they have some of these 3D pieces, and this is what it looks like from the Tabletop Terrain shop. And this is going to replace the nav lift, or the grav lift, in which is basically the elevator the players come in on. So this will actually fit in perfectly with this existing terrain. So you have this kind of feature here that you can bring in and sort of enhance that, and just, you only have to paint up this little bitty thing. But this is what it looks like here, obviously, printed from them. But they also have replacements for some of these hallway pieces, which they didn't have originally when they originally did the base game. So you have these here, which you can see faint red lines around there, which means there's walls around them. So if we take that and get rid of that there, this will fit right in there, snap right in there like that. And so there's tons and tons of these wall pieces like this. So you can see, for example, like we've got this one long wall. Let's just move some stuff out of the way here. You've got this one long wall like so. Now if you want to just fully replace that, and you can just see it fits perfectly even on top of that. So you can lay out the board and then dig out your piece there, and then you can have your little characters kind of moving through those areas there. So that's a way to kind of have that middle ground, and then the game really starts to kind of come together cohesively. So if you, again, like me, you like the artwork, but you really like the 3D-ification of the terrain, and then those hallways are kind of a little bit maybe out of balance or whatever. I mean, that's really up to you. Then you can pick up those walls and things like that. And they've also got other sets, sticking with the base game, representing some of the other sort of tokens. So in the original set, you could get these kind of open doors. Now, through the mechanics of the game and the progress of the game, these doors aren't going to start open. So they have a whole set of these closed doors, which you can attach there until you figure out either that's a place where bad guys might be coming through, or that's your escape route for the level. So they've got a bunch of stuff like that. They have also got here basically 3D versions of some of the special abilities and effects and things like that, and tokens for those, and then made those into 3D tokens. So sometimes the game will create an effect, or maybe one of your characters has a special effect, and so there's 3D versions of that if you want to get, even more invested. So that's kind of all the stuff that you can get just for the base game. Now let's jump into some of the expansion stuff, which I have painted some of it, and I'll show you the rest of it as well, some of which I've just only primed. But then the Tabletop Terrain Shop, they have a couple other really interesting things that they've done with it, and that the terrain's been designed to do, which is really kind of just a neat, really fancy thing. Okay, so let's look at the first expansion, which is of course for our friend the Amble there. And so they've taken the token angle to a whole nother level with this particular set. So first of all, here you've got some of these tokens, which are like clues or footprints for where the beast might be. You've got different trap tokens here, and then you've got other little caves and things like that. And without spoiling too much of the expansion, if you haven't played it yet, there's these like little eggs here. And so instead of just 2D tokens, you have these little eggs that you can get out of these little nests here. And so you can carry these around with you and take them, and they'll sit flat on the board like so. And so these are just kind of real cool tactile things that you just kind of, again, enhance the game. And all this stuff here was painted with contrast paints, even the Amble actually. So just, you can see a little bit different of a paint style here. I just wanted to try contrast on this particular set, as well as this next expansion is from the Trader Command. You can see the two figures there that you get with Trader Command. Again, these were also painted with contrast paints. Lots of tokens here and different data items that you can get. One of the coolest parts here, I think, is this gate. I really like this kind of blue swirly gate there. And again, this is painted with contrast paints as well. There's that one, and then you have this kind of boxes that have this infestation in them, this kind of tentacled beast thing. And then these boxes here actually have lids to them, and you can see inside here we've got another token and stuff like that. So some of your tokens and things can go inside of these boxes, as well as these other little containers like this. So again, painted with contrast on these. And so this is the Trader Command set. Fortunately, this is the end of the painted stuff. So this next group here is all for the first big expansion for Blackstone Fortress. This is the Escalation Expansion. And you can see you got various different tokens. These have all been primed. Now these have not. These were printed by Tabletop Shop with this kind of neon green effect. So I won't even actually paint these. And they've got lots of tokens, lots of terrain features like these you've kind of seen before. This, I can give you a chance to kind of just look at the detail on this with just a thin coat of primer on there, so you can see how you might paint these. I do a lot of just dry brushing on that, like a base color, kind of matching the color of the tile underneath. And then some kind of, pretty heavy dry brushing on top of that. You can see like this one here, it's a similar kind of idea. This is from the base set right? Just some basic black, some purple with some dry brushing, and that way it just kind of blends into the board there. But you could go in and paint each of these triangles individually if you really wanted to. I don't really want to do that, but this one's got some different things, a little bit of more of a possessed Blackstone Fortress, if you will, on this one. So there's some other cool terrain pieces here, like this throne. Try not to spoil anything in the comments there. You can see it's got lots and lots of skulls everywhere. It would not be a Warhammer thing if it did not have lots of skulls. And so you can see this, and this actually fits perfectly right on a spot on one of the boards. So you've got your throne for that, and then you've got some other really funky pieces here, this kind of thing here. Now the one real special thing I wanted to kind of show you here is this piece here. Now one thing I wanted to show you here is this particular container, and you can see it's empty. Well, there is a little bit of a flickering light in here, and it has a watch battery that you can replace it with. So you can drop that in there like so. Let's get that in there. Oops, and then we can throw this on top like that. So that probably comes off a little bit weird on camera, but it has this glowing sort of ooze effect there. So you can see that they're just glowing like that. So that's a cool little addition. If you were going to print this by yourself, you'd have to kind of come up with that whole solution there, but the Tabletop shop does this. That's just kind of silly, but it's cool, you know. Okay, and finally we have the latest two expansions, except for the one that's just coming out this last week. This is for the No Respite and the Deadly Alliance expansion. And so this one specifically here is for the No Respite. You can see this big honking like Sarlacc looking beast here. That's going to be really fun to paint, I think, once I get around to doing this. Just a really cool kind of nurgly, gross looking tongue mouth monster thingy. And then you have some of these other pieces here. Again, more tokens, nicely color coded in a way so you don't have to paint some of this stuff. Some other different tokens here. Then you have these cool green little crystal things that go into here as well as into here. Now again, this one has a little bit of a wedge here, and it comes with this little light. So I will say here, I'll turn that light on, you don't want to jam this up here too much because it will have a tendency to get stuck. You might have to use pliers or something to put in there. So I'm not going to jam there too much, but then when you put the crystals in here, like so, you can see there, this is going to make these kind of glow, which is pretty cool. So you've got these kind of glowing crystals now. So that's just kind of another neat aspect if you do get it from Tabletop Shop there. But again, this does kind of jam up there. So you want to be super careful. Since I'm just doing this for a video, I'm not going to pop it all the way up. But yeah, that's a cool thing there. So that is everything currently out from Tabletop Shop and Dragon's Rest. So I know some of you are probably like, where do you put all this stuff? Well, it all fits in this decent sized priority mailbox here. So there's actually a little bit of room left. So I'm hoping that with the Ascension expansion stuff, then that will still fit in here because I've got it actually nicely padded with some of this bubble wrap and stuff like that. But you really don't need to because this stuff is 3D resin, so it's super sturdy. Like you can, I'm not going to try to break it, but you can kind of toss it around a little bit and be a little bit free with it. If you're not, you don't have to worry about it. So all of that stuff does fit in here, and I do kind of like just box it up. Like some of the small tokens I'll just have in a bag with the labels as such. And so it's easy enough to organize and then just bring it out. And the setup of the game and everything, you don't really, you know, lose. It doesn't have that much more setup to it because everything, if you organize it, it's fine. And it all just fits in this one little box. You just throw it out in a corner in the closet or something. So I think from that perspective, it does well. And to be frank, I think the cost of it is more than reasonable. I mean, it's way cheaper than you might even think it is. So definitely take a look at the links below and check out the different websites. And if you have a 3D printer, then, you know, all the better. You can just print this stuff out as you wish. But thanks for watching the video, and we'll have some more videos this week. But that is the Blackstone Fortress terrain from Dragon's Rest and Tabletop Terrain Shop. Thanks.